Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. It's Friday. Hello, everybody. What a week, and it's gone fast, and a lot has happened. So let's jump in. So first of all, we're going to be talking about an interesting story today. But before we dig in there, we'll talk about Happy Friday. And the crypto market cap is 1.05 trillion still. Volume 25 billion. It should be around 40 at least. Bitcoin price 26,750. Hasn't moved much, bouncing around. The Bitcoin dominance, 49.9%. We'll be talking, I don't talk much about dominance, but I do when it comes to price predictions. We will be talking about Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum dominance, as well as another token dominance too in the future. Ethereum's 1550, again, their dominance 17.8%. And fear and greed is 44. So everything is kind of, steady Eddie. And anything I say here is not investment advice. It's just a detailed analysis that you will not find anywhere. So don't forget to subscribe and amplify your intelligence. And the story today, well, let's just jump into it. The story is really talking all about a company called Standard & Chartered. They're a $1 trillion bank, and they came out with a report about how Ethereum could go to $8,000. Now, that's normally not interesting, but their approach to breaking down how it gets to $8,000 is very interesting. And I'm going to break that down with the price levels and walk you through it and the impact on other assets with updated price predictions for what it can mean for Bitcoin price, what it can mean for other layer one prices as well as we go forward. But there was a couple of little pieces of news I just want to get out of the way first because a lot happened this week. First of all, this is from CryptoCon, and he put together this really good chart of fractals. And literally a huge percentage of people do believe after the court case this week, the SBF court case, was that Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX did manipulate Bitcoin price downwards. And according to these fractals, if it was not for that manipulation, Bitcoin price would not have fallen below $20,000. And that's a relief because I've been saying that for a long time. I believe, the black swan after black swan after black swan took us down further than we ever expected to go. And that was a problem. Not only was it that, but also the manipulation. So I thought that was super interesting. The cycle low would have only been just above 20,000 if that was the case. Another quick bit of news too, which actually impacts things like Ethereum and Bitcoin and spot ETFs and the price action too. The most hated man is now threatened by the House. He has courts going after him, forcing him to open his mouth and make a decision and say something logical, but he's not. Now, the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, was warned by Chairman James Comer of the White House committee to comply with oversight requests by October 19th, 6 more days, or face compulsory measures. That sounds like a big spanking. Now, the SEC is accused of obstructing congressional oversight since the 5th of June, 2023. And these guys are upset and they want something to change. So poor Gary is being hit by all sides now. Not only is he very unpopular, but he's been hit by the government. He's been hit by the court system. He's been hit by companies like Grayscale suing him, etc. So it's just a complete nightmare for him. Anyway, there's obviously something. The fact that, not to go off on a rant here, the fact that he worked for Caroline Ellison's father is all you need to know how dark this connection is, allegedly from stuff you see on X. Let's look at Bitcoin Perps. And this is related to all of this. Everything is always related in every story we make. We build a tapestry. But this from Blockware Solutions. Perpetual futures are on fire right now. And Perp futures, for those that need a refresher, they are futures contracts that do not have a fixed expiration date. You just buy and you hold. And that means that traders can keep their positions open for as long as they want or until they are liquidated. And the amount of open interest in Bitcoin Perp future contracts has increased over the past 2 weeks. That big little orange spike up there. Yes, we're still under the August levels, but this is very bullish. Now, the market is still a little bit less leveraged than normal, but to see that bullish Perp action come back in is a very positive sign. It means that the big money is investing on Bitcoin price going up. And it also is an anticipation probably of the SEC making an appeal on the ruling in favor of Grayscale. And what does that mean? Well, if you look at the Grayscale discount per our model that everybody on Patreon has, The discounts are tanking hard. I showed this on Tuesday. It was 18.9%. That's the GBTC discount. Now it's 15.25%. The Ethereum ETHE grayscale discount was 55% 2 months ago. Now it's 25.66%. And that is a huge change. So what this typically means, hey Chico, thank you so much. What this typically means is somebody in the know knows something, and they are buying up the shares to avail of the discount. The demand for the shares is reducing the discount. Somebody asked me that question earlier today. So that's kind of the answer behind that. And we're watching this very carefully. This is getting juicy, very exciting. In addition, some other related news. Before we get into the big story and the price predictions, this is too important. JP Morgan initiates coverage on CleanSpark to Overweight. They are now, like BlackRock, buying up all the top 3 miners. But for them to come out and say, okay, out of nowhere, CleanSpark Overweight recommendation triggered a whole bunch of other institutional funds to go buy CleanSpark and other top miners too. So this is very real, ladies and gentlemen. There is excitement brewing. I know Wall Street are late to the party, but that's fine. Better late than never, as we say here. Now let's look at the ETH Bitcoin breakdown chart. And literally, it is a breakdown. So I did say I wasn't sure that ETH Bitcoin price would fall through 0.06, but it did. And these red lines always stay static. So you can see that red line I had there is kind of a long support. It's a bit of a stretch, but you can see we did break down through it. And now it's at 0.057. And you can see I put a green triangle for the ETH merge to APOS as a joke, to proof of stake, not APOS. But you can see the way it's fallen down from nearly 0.08 all the way down to 0.057. And I added a green line too, and that is 0.052. That technically you could see as kind of a long-term floor for this pair, but I don't know if ETH will fall much longer because there's so much good news. Let's jump into that story right now from Standard & Chartered. They came out, and I don't know why not many people are talking about this, but they said ETH to 5x by the end of 2026. And StanChart stands for Standard & Chartered Bank, trillion-dollar bank across a lot of the Southern Hemisphere and India and United Kingdom and South Africa and all these places. A big shop. But for them to come out and say that is kind of interesting. And they also had a prediction about Bitcoin going to 120K as well this bull run. So let's break it down. And what I do like about them is their approach. It was scientific. And that's why it's worth a deep dive. So first of all, this is the chart that they published. The chart illustrates the potential path of Ethereum to reach the $8,000 level, breaking down increments based on various factors. They talked about where we are now. They talked about the proto-Danksharding capabilities, Bitcoin halving, regulation of spot ETFs, gaming, and tokenization of the world. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down each one of those and what it means. But there's something really interesting about their chart too, which I thought was very bizarre. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner, it says tokenization depends on cost and speed of Solana. So what does that mean? Does that mean, okay, well, this could do $8,000, but there could be an ETH killer that could prevent it from getting to $8,000. So we're going to examine that as well. And Bitcoin price too. So first of all, let's go to the steps. First of all, the proto-Danksharding, what that means. This basically, per them, they believe the base value of Ethereum is already in the chart. There isn't much growth attributed to that factor. It's kind of been priced in, and that's the new feature coming out in the new release. And that'll take us up to about $2,100. That's what I call step number 1. You could argue step number 2, but we're just looking at the 5 steps of the price increase. Now, step number 2 is the Bitcoin halving. They believe that Bitcoin halving events tend to impact the entire crypto market, the entire crypto market cap, by influencing supply and demand dynamics. And the chart suggests that after the next Bitcoin halving, there will be a moderate increase in the price of Ethereum up to $3,000. Remember, the all-time high is nearly $5,000, so still not getting back to all-time high, but interesting nonetheless. Then, what's kind of interesting, because the next step, if I was them, I would have had them reversed, because I do believe a spot ETF and better regulation, well, the spot ETF especially will come before the Bitcoin halving. But let's jump to the next step, step number 3, spot ETFs and regulations. But Standard & Chartered do believe the introduction of regulations and the launch of the spot ETFs, exchange-traded funds related to Ethereum, might provide a boost in price. And the chart shows this is a smaller but noticeable event, take us from 3,000 up to 3,900. Next, we have gaming. So Ethereum's involvement in the gaming industry, perhaps referred to things like Web3, NFTs, blockchain-based games, decentralized gaming platforms, could be a major factor in its potential price surge. And this section represents a significant increase, which is interesting for gaming. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on things like Ethereum before it can become a gaming platform. But then step number 5 is tokenization of real world assets. This is huge. This is trillions of potential market capability that could be tapped. Tokenization is a process of converting real world assets into digital tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. And it can contribute a hefty amount to Ethereum's value and price projection, taking us from 6,000 all the way up to 8,000. I'm not sure I mentioned that gaming will take us to 6,000. So that's big. Remember, previous all-time high is just shy of 5,000. So speaking of gaming, one other thing that's kind of interesting, we know that Matic is a layer 2 on Ethereum and the most popular with the most daily active users and some of the most transactions. But there's a Solana game called Star Atlas from a company called Sage Labs, and Sage Labs and the game Star Atlas flipped Polygon in daily transactions with 2.293 million transactions. So now Sage, just one little, speaking of games and gaming, now does more transactions than the whole of Polygon Matic, which runs tons and tons of dApps as well, and has a huge amount of users, like 320,000 daily active users. So that was kind of stunning. All right, we're going to go now talk about dominance, as dominance is interesting to some people. But this is the history of, and these are my targets for 2026. And the reason I have these dominance targets is because I use them in my price prediction models. Because of what, anyway, you'll see in a minute. But first of all, the bottom little teal line is the IA target dominance for 2026. I believe it'll go to 25% of the entire crypto market cap. It is currently at about 18%, 17.75. Let's call it 18%. So I do believe Ethereum dominance will rise over time. The top chart is historical Bitcoin dominance. And right now it's at 50%, 49.9, 50.4, depending on who you're talking to, how they measure the market caps. I do believe Bitcoin dominance will fall to 40%. And that is important for the future. So we have Ethereum going from 18 to 25 and Bitcoin going from 50 to 40. That's important as we go forward. Now, why is that important? Well, if we go back to Standard and Chartered, and they believe if ETH goes to 8K, first step that I'm taking, backing into their numbers and calculating my own numbers, it was what would happen to the Ethereum market cap. So today, the ETH price is 1550, 1543.61. The future target is 8,000. That's the return on investment of 418%, or nearly a 5-bagger. But that would mean the ETH market cap today is 185 billion. It would go to 960 billion, nearly $1 trillion. That's nearly a 5x market cap. That would take the total crypto market cap to 3.84 trillion. Remember, we hit 3 trillion last time around as well in the bull market. So this is not a far stretch, especially considering how prices were suppressed. Now, I want you to cast your eyes carefully on the ETH dominance of 17% going to 25%. That's a big factor for the model coming. So the next question I hear you all ask is, well, what does that mean for Bitcoin price if ETH does that? Well, remember my dominance, 50 going to 40. I believe if ETH goes to 8K, Bitcoin could go to 78,769. And the breakdown of that is the dominance goes from 50 to 40. Total crypto market cap is 3.84 trillion. Multiply that by 40%. That gives you a market cap of Bitcoin 1.536 trillion. Divide that by the number of tokens, and you get the price 78,769, which is 194% return on investment from today, or nearly at 3x. So not bad, but look at the ETH return, 418% versus 194%. That's interesting. Now, if the spot ETF of Bitcoin comes first, there'll be a lot more money flowing into Bitcoin first, but this is going out to 2025, 2026, okay? So not immediately. And over time, there will be, like I believe, literally months after the Bitcoin spot ETF is approved, Ethereum spot ETF will be approved, and then all the others down the line too. So we'll see. So let's take this back to a key point here. And we're going to talk about real world assets for a minute. I've talked about it before many times, but we'll just dig into it again. This is the process of converting real world assets like real estate, etc., art, into digital tokens on a blockchain. And because it appears to contribute a hefty amount to Ethereum's price projection, and the fact that Standard & Chartered point out, Solana, what are they talking about? Why Solana? Well, not just Standard & Chartered talking about Solana all of a sudden. So is a big company with 10 trillion under management called Fidelity. So Fidelity came out and said, attracting developers and creating network effects, projects have shown the ability to be successful and create something promising, and have done so by attracting the proper talent and retaining their user base. So Ethereum and Solana, noted by Fidelity, provide a great example of what is possible for a protocol that can attract a large amount of builders, build a usable platform, and gain a loyal network of users. When done right, there is clearly a lot of value that can be created for investors. And what they're talking about here is basically, Fidelity used to be a Bitcoin only shop, and then they started talking about Ethereum, and now they're talking about Solana. So they believe that for crypto to be successful, they need to bring in all those people, etc., and build for this future financial landscape that will be run on the blockchain, and it will have a lot of tokenization inside of it. Tokenization of stocks, art, real estate, land, who knows what. So let's talk about DeFi and RWA, real world assets. So the key is the multi-trillion-dollar opportunity is connecting DeFi and real world assets, and that is going to be big for us in blockchain. It's happening. The big Wall Street firms are already doing it. JP Morgan's doing it. BlackRock is doing it. Fidelity is thinking about it. Standard & Chartered know it's coming. That's a huge use case for Ethereum price growth. So what is this little wild card here, and why did Standard & Chartered put Solana in the bottom right corner of that chart? That could be a threat to Ethereum, kind of their way of saying an ETH killer. So let's talk about what Solana do today in real world asset tokenization. Okay, first of all, they have three things. These are examples of projects that are using the Solana network to tokenize RWAs. Parcel is a platform that allows users to tokenize and trade fractional ownership of real estates. Think, what do they call those things where people go on vacation and take a slice? Timeshare. Timeshare of an apartment. You have an apartment in Mexico and you want to break it into 52 weeks. Tokenize it, sell it. Let people buy it in a frictionless way or bid on it or whatever else. Next one is Asset Mantle. It's a platform that allows users to tokenize a wide range of RWAs, including real estate, fine art, and collectibles. This is also becoming very popular. Still very early days yet. And then you have environmental stuff like Carbon Swap. It allows people to tokenize and trade carbon credits too. So there's a whole bunch of use cases. And the banks want in. They're pushing for this. The retail investor doesn't know what the potential is, but the big money center and Wall Street banks are pushing for RWA. It's going to be big. The question is, which layer one will run it? That's going to be key. All right, so let's take it back to, we've done Bitcoin. Let's see the impact. If Ethereum goes to 8K, what could that mean for the Solana price? That's why you're all here. And, you know, I'm not shilling Solana. I'm shilling the best assets, not only mentioned by me since early 2021, but now the rest of the world, like Visa, 11th biggest company in the world, partner with Solana. Everybody's talking about Solana. Fidelity's talking about Solana. Standard & Chartered now talking about Solana. It's becoming one of the other standards alongside Ethereum. And also, since the beginning of time, I always said, I do believe at some stage that Solana will get to 10% of Ethereum's market cap and then 20%. Always been my thesis since day one. It hasn't changed. And we're going to break that down right now. So if Sol Dom, which is Sol Dominance, goes to 10% of Ethereum market cap and Ethereum goes to 8,000, what does that mean? Well, if you look at the price today, $21.58, it's kind of madness to think that that's the same price that it was in early 2021. Well, it went to 10 bucks, 20 bucks, 30 bucks, back to 20 bucks and up from there. But anyway, the SOL market cap is 8.9 billion. Number of tokens, 416 million approximately. It changes, but that is the calc here. And that gets us, if Solana get to 10% of ETH market cap is $960 billion, just shy of $1 trillion. Total crypto market cap is 3.84 trillion. I do believe it's very, very feasible. Again, I got to make sure I'm very clear about this. If ETH goes to 8K, if ETH doesn't go to 8K, then we can revise the calculus. And I've got other models for that too. But that means the market cap of Solana will go to $96 billion. And that would take it to a price of about $231. And that's 1,000% return on investment. 11 bagger from today, which isn't bad. And that would only mean that Solana gets to 2.5% of the crypto market cap in total. But I do believe this time around, the market will be smarter. They will not be pumping money into all these scam coins and all the hex garbage and stuff, but they'll be much more sophisticated, and there'll be black holes that will attract all the users, all the DPIN activity, all the tokenization, and that's where the money will go as well. So next scenario is if, which has always been part of my thesis, if Solana goes to 20% of ETH market cap, that would take us to 192 billion. And given today's prices and the number of tokens, that would take the price to $461. And that would be an ROI of 2,038%. And that would only be 5% approximately of the crypto market cap. So not beyond the realm of possibilities at all. But what's even more strange is we got above the 10% threshold already in the past. This is the SOL upside chart. Is one of the free things we share on TradingView, and you can pull it down yourself. So you can see here the yellow line is the 10% of ETH market cap, and the Solana price in blue breached that back in October 2021. Yellow squiggly line is if Solana is 10% the price, 10% the market cap of ETH, and the red line calculates if it's 20% the market cap of ETH. And if we do hit the 20% of the market cap of ETH, and ETH goes to 8,000, Solana theoretically could go to $461. So that is the calculation there. Everybody, I know they sound like crazy numbers. I mean, if SOL gets to $100, that'll be amazing. That's kind of when I'm already very happy with where we are. But either way, everybody, this is Standard Chartered's information. I'm breaking it down based on logic and numbers and rational calculations, not pie in the sky. Stephen Weston, this one's for you, buddy. I hope you liked it. I was thinking of you putting this together. But either way, everybody, it's going to be a very fun bull run. So stay healthy, buckle in, enjoy the ride, and thank you all for coming. Thank you to the moderators in chat and everybody for being here. And I'll see you all tomorrow for the weekend recap. A lot of stuff to recap. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.